Howdy folks, Marvin Forte here, your KFNW Director and your host of the KFNW Current. Welcome to episode 15. I appreciate you joining us tonight to do our primer for the upcoming Banks Lake tour event. I've got a couple of guests joining me tonight, Trey and Patrick Kelly. I'm going to do a little different tonight. I'm going to bring those guys in right away. I've got a few little news items to talk about, and then we'll jump right into Banks Lake. Let's bring those guys in. There they are. Patrick, Trey, thank you. Welcome.
Hey, Marvin. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Marvin, for having us.
Great. We got audio. We got video. Let's jump right into it. So a few news items to talk about. ICAST is starting tomorrow. They were setting up today. You probably saw some videos on that. I was there last year. I was hoping to go this year, but it didn't work out. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be there. Obviously, I'm here at home. July 15th through 18th in Orlando. Brandon Hua's down there. I don't know if there's any other. I don't think there's any other KFNW people that are down there, but Brandon's there with Torquedo, is how he got in. So hopefully he'll give us some updates on what's going on. We'll have him on the pod after he gets back, and we'll talk about what he saw there. Let's see. A couple of new items that have been announced for ICAST, a little before ICAST. I talked about some last time, and this time we've got a new motor that is on the market, the Minn Kota Riptide. Which is a Terova specifically for kayaks. It's got a 36-inch composite shaft, spot lock, autopilot, drift mode, follow mode. Should be another contender for those bow mount folks that fish with us. Megabass has released a new swim bait head for their very popular Mag Draft swim baits. Have you guys fished the Mag Draft?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I've done it a little bit.
But nothing. Haven't caught anything on it yet, so yeah. Yeah, I throw it a bit as well. It's a nice swim bait. I've actually, for years, I guess since about it first came out, I started throwing at least one size, and I've got, I don't know, about 3 sizes of it now. I picked up a couple of the little 5-inch ones in the off season from Discount Tackle with our coupon that we got from them, and I haven't thrown that yet this year. I'd like to give that a shot and see. I feel like I'll get, I don't know, more bites, less bites. Who knows? We'll see. Yamamoto has got a new bait that they've released, and I was actually using the little version of this back at Lake Cascade. I was throwing the Yamamoto Uni, which is their little urchin bait. It's smaller than the Koiki and the really popular ones that are out there, and I thought that would potentially be really good for the smallmouth, although all I caught on it was largemouth. I caught some largemouth on it, but no smallmouth. But now they've released the Uni Mas, so that's a little bigger one. It's still not as big as the Koiki, but it's closer to that. So if you're throwing the urchin baits, you might want to check that one out. I just ran across something today, which I've seen in previous years, but it just got released. I don't know. I think it was earlier this month when they announced it. But, Bassmaster does an article every year with their 100 best bass lakes across the country, and they kind of split it up by division. So I was curious, and I started digging through it to see what was going on in the West, and especially the Northwest. And it's pretty cool, actually. In Washington, in the top 100, they named Long Lake, which we have done at least one tour event there. It's been a few years since we did it there, but we did do at least one up there. You guys would remember that even better than me, because that was, WKBF days and WAKBF days even, maybe.
Yeah, that was in 2020.
2020. And then Moses Lake, which we've only done one tour event there, and it was sort of a replacement. Like, we couldn't do the Columbia, I think it was.
It was Soyuz.
It was
They
instead
had
of a
the forest
Soyuz.
fire up there.
Oh, when the fire happened, we moved it to Moses Lake. Yeah. And I've wanted to get Moses in there. We'll have to look at that. It's certainly a contender for one of our tour events. Sprague Lake, which we have done, at least I think a couple times. Lake Washington. What have we done on Lake Washington? Didn't we do like an open? We didn't do anything.
Not a thing.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Jim was always like, the problem is there's a few spots where the fishing's really good and everyone will go there. And even though it's a giant lake, it'll fish like a pond. I think that was his reservation about Lake Washington. But I think that's the only thing on this list that we haven't done. And then the last one in Washington that they listed was Potholes. So they've got Potholes and Moses both on their top 100 lakes, which is pretty cool. And then in Idaho, we've got somebody saying hello. Hello. It's good to know. I should have asked that right away. Somebody say something so we know it's actually working and people are saying it. I did check it, but it's nice to get confirmation from the outside world. In Idaho, they list two lakes, Lake Coeur d'Alene and Lake Pend d'Oreille. So Pend d'Oreille we're doing this year. Lake Coeur d'Alene we did last year. So both of those are in there. Interesting that
Dwarshak huh?
didn't make it, but for quantity, for quantity of tiny fish, Dwarshak is great. But for quantity of big fish, it's not necessarily that great. You can have a really great day with big fish, but it can be a little, it can be a little tough to find the fish there. Mike Peel says, hello. Good to see you, Mike. We've got a bunch of people chiming in now. You're here. Okay, we're here. So that's great. And then in Oregon, Siltcoos Lake, which we did year before last, and we've done it many times. We've probably done Siltcoos about 6 times, I think. And 10 Mile, which we did this year and last year. So that's pretty cool. Washington had 5 states on the list. Idaho had 2 and Oregon had 2. So, not bad, really. Because that was the entire West. That wasn't just, I don't think that was, let me check that. Was that the Northwest or was that the West? Oh, I can't get back there easily. I'm not sure, but I'll double check that just for posterity.
That definitely grabs, the top ones for sure in Washington.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's cool to know that, we have the reputation up here. Whenever I do podcasts and stuff with people in the Southeast, they're like, what, you guys have bass up there? I didn't even know you had. I've heard of the Columbia, and I guess there's smallmouth in there, but they don't even know that we have largemouth or anything like that. It's kind of crazy how we're sort of in a black hole, and they don't even know what's going on up here. But yeah, this kind of gives us a little cred, if they look at it, which they probably won't. And then the other one that's kind of cool, let me switch to the webpage and show you. Let's look at their top 10 in the whole country. Look at number 1 right there. Clear Lake coming up next month for the West Coast Championship. I'm going down. I've got a couple people in the house with me down there, a couple of KFNW folks that are going down, and there's a few more that I've heard from. So I think we're going to have at least half a dozen or so, maybe more, maybe 9 or 10 that are going down for the West Coast Championship.
Yeah, it's not a bad showing. Wish I could make it.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Sorry, I had a pop-up come up there. Hopefully you guys didn't have to deal with that. So we've got Clear Lake. We've got J.B. Thomas Lake in Texas is number 2. I have not fished that. The St. Lawrence River, of course. Smallmouth Haven. Whoa. Did not mean to go that fast. Number 4 is Santee Cooper down in South Carolina. We did a native event there this year. Lake St. Clair in Michigan. I tell you, that lake set the record for the native watercraft no limit. It was nuts. And the guy during the when we did the national one last year, there was a guy on Lake St. Clair who caught he just blew everybody else away. He caught a ridiculous number of fish. Number 6, Lake Fork, another native watercraft contender. Not this year, but we have done it for the past 4 years or so. The Kissimmee Chain down in Florida. We did a native event there this year and the previous year. O.H. Ivy in Texas is number 8. Number 9 is the Withlacoochee River in Florida. Of course, Florida's making a big showing here. And number 10, Caney Creek Reservoir in Louisiana. So that's our top 10 in the country. I don't know if the Pacific Northwest is going to make the top 10 in the country, but we made a showing, which is good. It makes me happy to see that. Okay, so
I think if we start pulling out some double digits, they might pay more attention, but they're hard to come by here.
Yeah, they're rare here for sure. But, smallmouth, we can contend with anybody on big smallmouth. We've got our records are a 23.5 from Rick Thanstrom, at 23 that Josh Duggar caught on the Columbia during an event there. I mean, I don't care where you go. The St. Lawrence, 23 is a giant fish on the St. Lawrence as well. So yeah, we're contenders there. All right, well, let's talk about Banks a little bit. So last time we were at Banks was September 14, 2024. You guys finished first and second. Trey took first. Patrick took second. But it was a tie, right? You guys had the same score. And so a tie in our tour events is broken by whoever catches the biggest kicker, the biggest fish in their bag. And on that, you guys were only separated by a quarter of an inch. Trey had an 18, and Patrick, you had a 17 3/4. So that's why Trey beat you by that quarter inch of a bass, which could have been, if you guys had played with a fish a little longer, you might have gotten an extra quarter of an inch. It's a quarter inch can happen in a heartbeat. And then Zach Hahn, we don't have him on tonight, but he took third, and he had big fish of the tournament, a 19 1/4 largemouth. So tell me a little bit, if you remember that far back. I know it was ages ago, but tell me a little bit about what you remember about that day, and if you have any idea what worked for you, how you did it. Trey, since you came in on top, why don't you start?
Well, if I remember right, topwater bite was key for me for the first 2 hours of the tournament. I think that 18 actually came off a topwater bite, and then it went quiet. It was nothing on anything I could think of, and realizing with how clear that water was, I needed to probably slow down, especially with how hot it was. I slowed down and went to drop shotting off the grass line, and from then on, it's just weeding out through all the little guys. A lot of 12s, a lot of 11s, but
So
every
a lot
now
of
and then
culling.
there'd be one. Yeah, every now and then there'd be one decent fish, one 15, 16 that would come up. But yeah, it's just a lot of patience going through and finding the little fish or the bigger fish out of the little ones.
Very nice. And how about you, Patrick?
Yeah, it's funny. I was kind of opposite. First thing in the morning, I started out with a spinnerbait, and I caught uh, quite a few off a spinnerbait, and I ended up putting that down. I went to an area and threw a crankbait, and as soon as it hit the surface, I had a fish blow up on it. I'm like, oh, time to
That's
switch to
working.
top water. So I switched to top water, and just it was lights out. And this was late morning when bright sunny out, but
That's what I was going to
it
ask.
was
Was it a sunny day? Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. And so I had top water later in the morning, and then then I ended up switching to deeper and drop shot, and same thing. Just my smallest was a 16, but just trying to cull, it was tough. Just so many small ones. I mean, it's fun because the fish are biting for sure,
Yeah.
but just so many small ones. Just trying to, you know, get another quarter inch is, all you need. But at the time, I didn't know it. With the service out there, it's very spotty. So,
Okay.
looking at the standings sometimes is not possible. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Depending on where you're fishing there, I'm sure if you're up
right.
near Grand Coulee, then you probably have okay service. But down at the bottom, I imagine there's not much. And the narrows, nothing probably. Well, that's cool. Um, so talk to me a little bit about some of the structure and the setup that people can expect to find there at Banks. It's a huge lake with a lot of different types of conditions.
Yeah, it's
You can find a
it it has everything. I mean, the largest fish in the tournament last time was a largemouth. And there's uh, there's pads, there's grass, there's all sorts of stuff for largemouth, and then there's rocks everywhere. The whole lake's just covered in rocks. So you're gonna find rocky points. You're gonna find drops, all that. So it's got everything. It's a great lake.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And the further up you go too, you can find sandbars as well. You can find grass lines with big sandbars and a lot of pebble rock. Some even if you look close enough, you can even find some wood too.
That's cool. Yeah, I was waiting to hear wood when Patrick was talking there. So not as much, but you can. That's cool. Um, 27 miles. Average depth is about 46 feet. Max depth is 177 feet, which is pretty crazy. But it looked like you could find areas to fish shallow or fish a little deeper if you wanted to, from my looking around, researching it. So talk to me about smallmouth versus largemouth. It's mainly a smallmouth lake. But obviously, like you said, there are largemouth in there. I'm looking at the results from last time. And it's very heavily smallmouth favored. Maybe 1 out of 12 is a largemouth. Something like that.
There's lots of bays, lots of areas with cover for those largemouth. So I think it just depends on where you fish, and what you're targeting as far as structure goes.
And it depends on the time of year too. My neighbor, he fishes a lot, and he's in the spring. He said largemouth was unreal. It's the best it's been in a long time since he's been up there. But in the summertime, I have another friend that does it on his boat up there, and he said it's very hard to find largemouth when the heat kicks up. So
Sure.
I guess it depends on who you are, but it sounds like the largemouth have really been getting better in numbers on that lake.
In general, that's cool. Nice. That's a good sign for the future, hopefully. There's some submerged road beds I saw too that looked kind of interesting. Stuff from before it was dammed up.
Yeah, the tournament that I won there in 22, That's what I was on. I stayed on the roadbed the whole tournament, and they were stacked on it.
Nice. Just taking a break. Just chilling on the road.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. How much pre-fishing you guys planning to do? Are you going to go down much earlier than the event?
Well, unfortunately for me, I'll be on vacation, so I'll be as soon as I get off vacation, I'll be on the road to the event. So there'll
Nice.
be.
That's
I
worked for you in
might
the
get
past,
Friday, but
man.
that's about it. Yeah, that's pretty much all I do. I can't say I'm pre-fished because I don't really pre-fish at all. But no,
It
I'll be
is,
going in pretty much blind like I did last year.
that is your rep. You know, you've done it with great success a number of times. So yeah. And how about you, Patrick? You going down a couple days early?
I'll be down there. I'll be there by sunrise Thursday morning.
Okay. Yeah. Same. I'm driving up. Well, I won't be there at sunrise Thursday. I'm driving up Thursday, so I'll probably just get on the water a little bit Friday, which is more typical for me if I can swing it. All right, so let's talk about some of the logistics of the event. We're in off limits right now. That goes through Friday at 11:59 p.m. this Friday. And registration is also, deadline is also Friday. We can probably get you in after registration closes at 11:59 on Friday, but you'll pay a late fee if you don't sign up by Friday. So we've only got 19 signed up right now. There's quite a few people I know that are coming that have told me they're coming, so they just haven't signed up yet. So be sure and sign up by Friday if you can to save that extra $10. So then after Friday, that's when our official practice period begins. You can start pre-fishing on Saturday all the way through Friday. The times are 6:15 a.m. to 2:15 p.m., which basically aligns with the tournament. It's basically the same times that you'd be fishing in the tournament. That's an on the water and off the water time. We don't have a separate launch and lines in and lines out and off the water. You need to be on the water and you can fish immediately at 6:15, and then you need to be off the water at 2:15. And after that, there's no pre-fishing from the bank. You can't do that either. You can't go out and look around and scope stuff. You've got to be completely off the water. Let's talk about the pre-event briefing. That's happening on Friday at 6 p.m. And I'm planning on doing it at North Dam Park. Let me pull that up and we'll look at it together so that everybody knows where we're talking about. I think that's where you've done the awards before. Okay. Let's switch our view here to the web view. Come on. It's still on Portland. This happens every once in a while with... There we go. So here's where it is. If you go to Grand Coulee, there's this park right here. And I think the spot that looks like a good area for us to go is like right in here. It looks like there's even some seating there. There's some benches. And you can get in over here. There's plenty of parking over there. So we'll probably do it there. I think you guys before did it over this way, closer to the bathroom. And that's fine too. We'll just have to scope it out once we get there and see what it looks like. I tried to find something a little more indoors if I could, but I couldn't really swing that for this one. But I'm working on that for next time we go back up there. We'll try and get something that's a little more indoors. Hopefully the wind doesn't crush us. That's one reason I moved it over here, is over in this area. Is I feel like right here next to the lake, the wind could be more of an issue. And this is kind of a hill in between there, and the water is sort of a hill. So I'm hoping we'll have a little bit of a break from the wind by going over there. So that's where we'll do the pre-event briefing, and that's where we'll do the awards, both of those. As always, that pre-event briefing, we can switch pages here and pull some of this up. There you guys are with your checks. As always, attendance at the pre-event briefing is mandatory. If for some reason you can't make it, you are working or on vacation, something like that, and you can't get there, then you need to contact me and get approval to not come. And what you'll have to do is get someone to bring your bump board or loan you a board. They can bring a board on your behalf, one of their spare boards, and that board will get inspected, and we'll put a inspection sticker on it, and then you'll have to use that board. Helpful if you can do the liability release. If you can bring one of those already printed out and filled out. If you don't, or you forget it, no big deal. We'll have them there. We're not really worrying about motor inspection unless you've got some unusual setup. If you've got some sort of DIY or non-standard setup, then you'll want to talk to us about that so we can check it out. Like I said, we will check out your boards, make sure they're clean and dry. And of course, you'll have a chance to ask questions as well. And that one we already talked about. We've got a whole bunch of launches. You can see here all these blue pins. There's a pin here for the awards location too. I added that today. So if you haven't looked, you might not have seen that yet. But you can see we've got launches kind of all over the lake from top to bottom. So you can kind of pick and choose where you want to fish, and like these guys said, what you want to fish for, based on what the locations look like. Pretty much any creeks or tributaries, obviously you can get up and go into those. Any isolated pieces of water like Thompson Lake, no, you can't fish there. I did have somebody ask me about Osborne Bay Lake. That's off limits as well. There's no way to get through there. So that's technically...
You'd have a lot of kayakers in there.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because there's no boats in there really, or not much, because it's kind of hard to launch a big boat in there, because it's just a dirt launch down here. There's your launch. So yeah, it's a separate body of water, and it'd be a real problem if we had a bunch of people show up there and try to fish that bay. That'd be a mess. So that's off limits as well. But anything else, basically, if you can get up into any of these arms or creeks or anything, no problem. You can fish any of that you want to, as far as you can navigate without portaging. Yeah, like here, any of these creek arms or anything, no problem. Let's see.
Marvin, I have a suggestion, or I guess...
Yep. Lay it on me.
Anyway,
Go back to the...
last time we were there, one of the water level was pretty low, and it was down a couple feet at least. And at least one of the launches, it looked like it was fine, but you start to head out and you hit a sandbar.
Oh, and you couldn't get past
no
it?
way to get... Yeah, I couldn't get past it all. And I mean, it looks just like water. You couldn't even see the sand.
Oh,
but
wow.
I mean, totally, unless you portage, which isn't allowed in the tournament. So I would recommend maybe not just blindly going to a launch, before on tournament day. Maybe do some research to make sure that the launch actually is,
launchable,
something you can get out of. Right.
Yeah.
And
that's
it was
great
one that
advice.
was listed too that was that way.
Okay. Yeah, that's great advice. And if you are going there to pre-fish and you run into anything like that you can't use, which you did last time, Patrick. You told me about one that you found at Cascade that was closed, and a couple people told me about that one. So yeah, if anybody is doing their pre-fishing and they see something that's on the list as a launch, but it's not launchable or it's closed or under construction, whatever, please let me know so that I can update the list. And yeah, that's always great advice, is make sure that a launch is good before you get there that morning, because crap happens and you never know what you're going to run into. Jesse says, side pot for biggest walleye. We don't have a side pot for this one, but there's a chance you may catch one for sure. One of the things with our permit with Washington too is if you have any bycatch, you're not allowed to keep it. So if you do catch a big walleye or wherever we are, a trout or whatever it is, unfortunately, you do have to throw it back. Junior Zarate says hello. Good to see you, Junior. Hello, fellas, from Moses Lake. Good to see you, JL. And then let's see, what else do I have here? Okay, so let's talk about some Washington-specific stuff, especially for those people that are coming from out of state. Obviously, you got to have a Washington fishing license. You can buy a temporary license or an annual license, whichever makes sense for you. There will be AIS decontamination paperwork that I'll have at the pre-event briefing that everyone will need to sign and fill out. The real key is if your kayak has been in a body of water outside of Idaho, Oregon, or Washington in 30 days before that event, more than 30 days, or less than 30 days rather, sorry. If it's been in another body of water in less than 30 days, then you need to decontaminate your kayak. They recommend using hot water, like boiling water, but bleach will work too. Just make sure if you use bleach that it's a few days before you're going to leave so it has a chance to oxidize and it won't be active bleach anymore. That's critical, and there's another little form you'll have to fill out if you've done that. If you had to do that, there's another form you'll have to fill out that says, yes, I decontaminated my kayak. And then we have to sign that as well. I have to sign that as well. So this is a Washington event. Another regulation we've got with Washington is the event flags. You've got to use one of our event flags on your kayak. You've got to fly it on the day of the event. You should not fly it during pre-fishing or practice, but on event day, you should have that yellow event flag. If you don't have one of those yellow event flags, you can go to the website and order it. And what I would do at this point probably is just say pick up at event. Go ahead and order it if you want and say pick up at event, and I'll have them there at the pre-event briefing, and you can get a flag from me. And they've got some zip ties and clips so that you can attach them to your, if you've got like a Visicarbon Pro or some other type of pole, flag pole, you should be able to attach it to that, no problem. Let's see, Jesse's got a couple other things here. Oh, Jesse said he caught 3 walleye in practice a few weeks ago. The launch at Banks Lake public
Marvin,
access is not.
one other thing that for any new folks coming from the west side over I-90 to this tournament, there is a watercraft inspection station that you're required to stop at.
Yeah.
And they say their business hours are 7 a.m. to whatever. When I was heading over to Cascade, I went through there about 6 a.m. and they were open. This 70-year-old lady that was manning it must like to get up early. So, I pulled in there. It only took 2 minutes, but they say that if they catch you passing by it, the cops can pull you over, give you a ticket for it. So just something to be aware of.
They sure can. They absolutely can. We run into that when we're coming from Oregon too. Depending on where you cross over, there's a couple of stops where we may get stopped if you're going up through I don't know. When I go to Tri-Cities, I don't run into it as much. But if I go the other way, usually I get stopped and have to do inspection. So yeah, just make sure your kayak's not full of water. That's what would really raise a red flag for them. So Jesse's talking about one of these launches. The parking lot's about 200 feet from the lake, and you have to hike down a narrow trail to the lake. He's saying Banks Public Access. I think he's talking about this one that I call Ford Air Road Northeast. Yeah, that looks like it. Let me switch the view so everybody can see that. Yeah, so I think it's this launch he's talking about. So buyer beware. Check out your launches. You know, especially what I like to do is if I'm going up on, say, Thursday, that's the day I'm driving up, even if I'm there after you need to be off the water, you can still drive around the lake and check out launches and see what looks good and where you might want to go. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Scouting with your eyes and your eyes only is not a problem. So yeah, you might want to check out that launch if you're considering doing it. That launch is, to give you an idea where that is on the lake, it's way down here at the bottom near Cooley City. And there's some other launches down in that same general area. I'm on the wrong page. Here we go. Yeah, you got another launch right there in Cooley City, and then there's another on the couple more over here. So yeah, you've got options. If that's no good, you don't want to launch there, don't worry about it. Of course, you've got a real small, lightweight kayak, no big deal. Just roll it down there. He said, yeah, that's the one he's talking about. Okay, great. Let's see. We were talking about Washington specific. We went over event flags. We went over regulations, AIS, inspection. Anything else I'm not thinking of, guys, as far as Washington?
I think that's it.
Not that I can think of. Yeah, I think that's it.
I'm looking at, I've got it on the KFNW page too for the event, the tournament detail page. Yep, we went over that. We went over that. Yeah. There is a link to the event flag there too if you want to. You can get to it from the tournament detail page or just go to the shop on the website, kfnw.fish, and go to the shop page and a flag will be there, event flag. They're $15, I think. Something like that. 16? I can't remember. I guess I should look at that since I'm telling people what to do. 15. Yeah. Okay. This is a qualifier. Double qualifier. So our top 10% are going to qualify for the KFNW Classic on the Columbia River, the Bonneville Pool, down my way, that part of the Columbia, which has some mega smallmouth in it. We don't see largemouth down at that end of the Columbia very much. I mean, they could be in there. They certainly are in the river. But we don't see them much down there, even in the sloughs and stuff. It's pretty rare. I think Brandon said he's caught one in that area the whole time he's fished it. So it's pretty small. And I've never caught one there. I've only caught smallmouth and I've caught walleye. I've caught pike minnow. I used to catch a lot of pike minnow down in that section, but I really haven't. In the last couple of years, I haven't caught pike minnow, so I don't know. That's one of the areas that they were targeting, that you can get the bounty for catching them and turning them in. So maybe that's really, really working. This is also a qualifier for the West Coast Championship, which we just talked about, Clear Lake being the #1 bass fishing lake in the U.S., according to Bassmaster. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to go down and fish the best bass fishing lake in the country? There you go. Say no more. You got to do it. I know you guys aren't going, but I've already talked to you about it. But I'm going. I wasn't sure if I could make it work, but then one of the other directors, Mark, is not going to be able to make it. So I'm like, well, I can't just leave it all to James. So I'm going down. I'll help him and fish it. Oh, Jesse's got a largemouth story. Let's see. I caught one largemouth near the Hood River Marina, about 8 inches long. Okay. And that's right in the middle of this section. This section is from the Bridge of the Gods, which is close to Bonneville Dam, to the Dalles Bridge, which is close to the Dalles. And Hood River's right kind of in the middle of it. Maybe a little bit towards the Dalles side, but mostly in the middle of it. So they're in there. Jesse caught one. Caught an 8-incher. Wouldn't make the board. So yeah, it's going to be a smallmouth affair, no question. So the West Coast Championship, that will be the top 25% of Banks Lake will qualify. Or if you fished, not Potholes. Potholes was not a West Coast Championship qualifier. But if you fish 10 Mile and Lake Cascade, and you complete this event at Banks Lake, then you automatically qualify because you have completed 3 events, the R3 qualifiers. Junior says he wants to go to the West Coast, but you got to qualify. Well, you've got 2 under your belt, don't you, Junior? So if you're fishing Banks, boom, there you go. That's your 3. Because I think you fished... Did you fish Cascade? I think you did. I know you fished 10 Mile. I remember seeing you 10 Mile. Let us know. Let us know. Or let us know if you've got to make the top 25%. That puts a little more pressure on you. What else? What else about Banks should we talk about? Any other secrets you guys want to share? Secret baits? Secret spots?
I don't know about secrets, but I know it's going to be very busy with pleasure boaters out there. So be very careful, especially if you're going to be on the lower part. It's going to be busy, and it's going to be choppy water.
Yeah, and the narrows there, let's go back to that view and look at that, because that's a great thing to bring up. You don't have much protection in that narrow part of it here. It's fairly narrow there. How far across is that? That's, oops. I mean, that's almost a mile. It's almost a mile across. Even there, we call it the Narrows, but it's not that narrow. It's like the Columbia River. But point remains, you don't have much protection there. You don't have much protection from wind or from boaters. So you may want to choose an area that's got some areas you can get out of that main lake a little bit. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of it up here, and there's some down at the bottom here as well. There's some cuts and coves and stuff. So yeah, you might.
Well, that punch bowl area is that's one of the areas where I see most of the pleasure boaters, that punch bowl area.
Yeah.
And jet skis, wakeboards, they're all in that area.
Absolutely. I hear you. Junior said I was right. He did not fish Cascade. Okay, Junior, pressure's on. You got to be in the top 25% at Banks. I hope you do it. I hope you make it. I hope you come down there. Let's talk about the weather. It's going to be hot. It's a little too soon for us to tell much about the weather yet, but all the days leading up to it, the forecast on those days leading up to it is about 100 degrees, 103, 100 to 103 or 4. So definitely bring plenty of water. Bring the right clothes so you're not exposed to the sun so much. And if you need to, go park on the bank, get out and take a swim and cool yourself off. Set up a swamp cooler maybe on the kayak to blow cool air on you. Misters. It was a real deal when I lived in Arizona. Like, it was common temperature in the summer would be 115. That's like a normal high during the day. So, I mean, it was no joke. And it would be, you'd get there at sunrise and it would be 85 at sunrise, 80, 85 at sunrise. And you'd only have about an hour or so before it started getting oppressively hot. So it was challenging. I used to keep a Camelback on the back of my seat and just had the tube running up there so I could just drink, all day as much as I needed to without having to pull a bottle out and drink it and everything, that worked pretty well. I haven't had to do that up here in the Northwest, but I might have to break out the Camelback for Banks. We'll see. It's going to be warm. Wind on the days before it didn't look that bad, but it's way too early for us to really forecast what's going to happen with the wind. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Well, and we know how our tournament days have been beginning of this year, so
yeah,
anything can happen.
Yeah, we were joking when you guys got on before we were live that, it's 103 on Wednesday, so by Saturday it should be 70. It should be 30 degrees cooler based on what we saw at Cascade. I don't think we can count on that. That'd be awesome if it happened, but it might put a damper on the bite. I don't know. Let's take a look. One thing I neglected to do is to look at, here's the actual bags you guys had last time. There's your 84 3/4 that you both had. And you can see not a lot of largemouth. Zach had a couple in third place. You guys had all smallmouth. Hong had 1, 2. And then not a lot as we go down the list. Maybe 1 or 2 in their bag. Dan had 2. So, yeah. I mean, if you could figure out the secret and catch an all largemouth bag, that'd be cool. I think I saw somebody, Sage, Mike's son, had 3 largemouth. He had a whole largemouth bag, but he only had 3 fish. Yeah, it sounds like smallmouth would be the smart play for sure. Let's see, Jesse's got something else to add. Cayman Place is also not trailer friendly. Yeah, I think I've marked most of those. If you look, I usually mark that if it's whether it's improved or semi-improved or unimproved. Semi-improved would be like it's gravel and everything, but there is like a ramp. But there's a few here. There's a few that are unimproved. So if you've got a trailer, a big heavy kayak and a trailer, you're not going to want to go to one of those. You're going to have a bad time trying to launch and get back off the water there. You might want to stick to the improved or at least semi-improved. But if you've got a lightweight kayak and wheels for it, sure. I kind of miss those days, right? Like I've got the Hammer now. It's big, it's heavy. I've got a trailer. I kind of miss the days and that's when I bring the LTE out. That's what I have with that because it's like 65, 70 pounds. So I just car top that and put it on the wheels and roll it down to the water and launch. That's how we all kind of started with kayak fishing, and things have gone this direction of like mini bass boats where everything's big and heavy and motorized and yeah. But I'll get off my soapbox about that. They're both fun. They're both good, and they both have their advantage. If you want to go 3 miles from the launch before line's in, a motor's a great way to do it. And we all don't pedal as fast as Trey, and even Trey's gone to the dark side and added a motor to his
I'm down on the motor side.
And on that big long gnar, he can fly with that motor. It's a fast kayak. It's faster than my Hammer even with the motor. Which is saying something because the Hammer's darn fast. I can go almost 7 with it, and he can go a little over 7, I think. Let's take a quick look at the 50-50. Are you guys participating in the 50-50? Patrick, you are.
I'm not this year.
You're not this year, Trey?
Participating is a tricky word.
Donating?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, on the last pod, it's let me switch so you guys can see what I'm seeing here. Here it comes. We're going to pay out the top 15 places. I mean, maybe you won't catch Corey with 220 and a half inches. He just added a new fish. I haven't even judged it yet. And Joff added a new one too. Maybe you're not going to get in the top 3, but the top 15, come on. You still got a shot at that. 15's 184 inches. Come on, you could do that. Anybody could do that. You could start now and do that. Although that spring bite is pretty helpful in getting your bag set. But some of it's mind over matter too. Like, you look at these folks that went out and filled their bag full of big fish early, and it feels like, oh, how could I ever catch up? But you totally can, because like I have judged very few fish in this top 10 since the spring. They caught theirs early and put them up there, but you can still catch those big fish. People are still catching 20s and 21s all day long. I'm still judging them. They're still showing up now, so you can do it, people. But yeah, our top 10 hasn't changed since the last time. Order is exactly the same. But there's a lot of movement down here, down low. You see there's a lot of new fish coming up and stuff I've still got to judge. I try and keep on top of the stuff at the top first, but then I'll also make sure and judge at least 1 or 2 fish from everybody, just to make sure they got the right code and all that kind of stuff, that they're not making a mistake. What else? I think that's about it. I think that's about all I've got. Let me run through our sponsors real quick. Huge thanks to Snake River Manufacturing. They are our title sponsor this year. Diamond Parking and Diamond Self Storage. They are our presenting sponsor this year. Huge thanks to them. Our tour sponsors are Native Watercraft. We will be giving away a Titan X 12.5 this year. If you fished 3 or more tour events, you'll have 1 entry. If you fish 4, you'll have 2. 5, you'll have 3. So you've got a shot at winning it. Chris Glover won it last year, and he's been using it. Boggs Footwear is our other tour sponsor. We will have Boggs Footwear on display at Banks Lake, and we will give away 2 coupons for 2 pair of free footwear from Boggs. I just ordered a few pair myself, and they're fantastic. They're great. I own 4 pair of them now. Since they've been sponsors of ours for a while, I've bought a couple over the years, and they've been great. Northwest Tackle in Caldwell, Idaho. They are our media sponsor. We couldn't have done the KFNW Current and some of the other media stuff we've done this year without their help. Huge thanks to them. And our platinum gear sponsors this year are NRS and G Loomis. We're giving away a G Loomis rod at every tour event this year, and at the Flying Kayak Open next month as well. I will, in the next podcast, I will be going over all those. I think it's in the next one. Yeah. Well, the next one will be the recap. The recap for Banks Lake, I've got plans on Tuesday that I had on the schedule, so I'm not going to be able to do it the Tuesday after the event. And I don't like to change the day, but I'm going to do it in this case because I don't want to wait a whole nother week before getting the winners on the podcast. So we're going to do it on Wednesday after the event. will be the next episode of the KFNW Current. And let me check and see when I'm going to be going over the opens, because I do want to mention them at least, is to start planning on doing the opens. Yeah, we'll have a primer on 8/11. No, that can't be right. That's recaps. No, it is the one. It's after Banks. It's the Wednesday after Banks. I'll be going over all the summer opens for that as well. That'll be our primer for that. It'll be our recap. It'll be a big, long podcast. It'll be our recap for Banks, and it'll be our primer for the summer opens and for the Flying Kayak Open. If you're a fly angler and you like to catch bass on the fly rod, you got to come to the Flying Kayak Open in Oregon on Davis Lake. It's a blast to fish there. Clear water, shallow, lots of largemouth, tons of largemouth, and some big ones. We've had 18s, 19s caught on the fly rod there, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Is there anybody that you guys would like to thank? Let's start with Trey. Trey, any sponsors or family members or anybody that you'd like to send a thanks out to?
Well, I've always got to thank my family for being one of my bigger supporters of wherever I go. They're always helping me out with stuff at home when especially at the last minute, tell them I need to leave, take care of the dogs, the animals, and then just a big thanks to Jackson for being behind me in the decision I make and help me along the way. They've done a lot to guide me and truly made me a lot better of an angler than what I was starting out. That's
great. Well, you're a pretty good angler before it too. That's why they picked you. But yeah, that's nice. And how about you, Patrick?
Same here. Family definitely is a big support. So it's great to be able to pack up and go for 3, 4, 5 days and know that everything's taken care of at home and I can go out and have fun and not worry about anything.
From your mouth to our ears, that's definitely a true story. Brandon Hennings chiming in. He says, we need to start pushing promos out for the opens. You're absolutely right, Brandon. I'll get on that right away and start really promoting those opens. Those opens are a great way if you've been thinking about getting into kayak fishing. It's a great way to come out with low stakes, not much money. You get some help. You get paired up with a teammate who's more experienced than you. It's going to cost you $25. There's no membership fee needed for that one. And Big Bass, if you want to do it, you can. I think it's 10 for that. You can do another 10 if you want to participate in the Big Bass of the day. But yeah, we'll get that started, Brandon, so that we can get it on their calendars and start planning for it. And to all of our anglers who do fish with us already, if there's anybody that might be interested in coming out. It was cool at the Spring Open. I'm sorry, I'm making bubbles appear. Not sure what hand gesture did that, but we had people that brought family members out. In our Oregon, when we had a couple of people that brought family members out to fish that event. They don't usually fish our tour events, but they came out for the Open. And so that was fun. And one of them won it, actually, which was kind of cool. So yeah, we'll get that promoted and get starting it, and I'd ask everybody to do the same. As when I share it, certainly share that and tell your friends, tell your family, yell it from the rooftops, whatever you have to do. And with that, I guess we'll call it a night. It's been 1 hour right on the nose. Boom. How about that? Thanks so much to both of you for coming on and talking about Banks Lake. Perhaps I will see one of you after the event on the podcast. If one of you manages to get in the top 3 or catches big bass of the day, then you'll be back on the pod. If not, hopefully it'll be one of the people that have been chiming in over here in the comments. let's hope somebody gets in there and does something amazing. It'll be fun no matter what. We'll have a good time. Thanks again to everybody for watching, and thanks Patrick and Trey. We'll see you next time, and
Thanks, Marvin.
stay safe on the water.